Hey guys, let's talk about big ideas for today. First lecture of chapter 7. Now, I had one heck of an intro today on chapter 7. There's a lot going on. But let's just kind of break it down for what it is. The book is going to start to reveal itself, and this is really important that you guys understand that chapters are going to no longer move chronologically from chapter to chapter. We're going to start in a period of time and we're going to cover some part of Sprite: social, political, religious, ideological, technological, economical. And then we're going to go back. And then the next chapters might not necessarily move forward in time. They might go right back to the beginning, but then they're going to cover a different part of Sprite. So chapter 7 is huge politics, huge economics, a little bit of technology. Chapter 8, not really moving forward into history. What I'm going to be doing is covering more social, religious, and ideological aspects of it. So we're kind of stuck in the same period of time for the next two chapters, okay? And chapter 7 is tons of politics, tons of economics. And it's amazing because, we get Hamilton, which, we've been watching a lot of scenes from the show. But what I really want us to see with chapter 7 is the nuance of political parties. What I'm going to do this week is with every single key term. I feel like I move my hands too much. Every single key term, I want you guys to know how the Democratic Republicans and how the Federalists feel about that event or that idea. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay, now we've had factions before. We were introduced to them in the last chapter with the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists after Shays' Rebellion. We trash the articles. We create the Constitution. It's time to ratify, and all of a sudden we get a group of people who are afraid at the central government. It's completely rational. We just got done fighting a tyrant. That's why the articles were so weak. But then we also have a group that really is pushing forward because they believe it's the right way to go. Okay. Those groups are going to evolve in our first two-party system in American history, known as the Federalist Party and the Democratic Republican Party. And Jefferson and Madison create the Democratic Republicans, and Hamilton, and John Adams is also going to be one, are creating the Federalist Party. And they see things differently. Now, whenever we address political parties, I have my nice little sticky post-it on the board. There's two ways we can tackle them. You can memorize all the events that are happening and where they sit on all these events, or we can think through it. Okay. There will always be a big government party and a small government party. In this case, Democratic Republicans want limited central, more powerful state government, kind of like an anti-federalist. And the Federalists want to continue to increase the central government because of the given circumstances at the time. Okay. Other questions. Where are we in the country? If people are in the South, are they going to be more this way or the other? What do they do for a living? Are you living in urban centers? Or are you living in the country? How do these groups of people feel about taxes? All of these little questions can come into play to help you figure out who's going to be a Democratic Republican and who's going to be a Federalist. It can also help you figure out where these groups sit in idea. So like when we get to the Whiskey Rebellion, we haven't covered it in class, and you should know the definition because we're quizzing on Wednesday. But if we know it's an excise tax and it's bringing in a lot of government revenue, what party might be happy about bringing in more government revenue, more taxes, versus a party that might not like that, right? So your Democratic Republicans, new taxes are going to frustrate them. They don't want a big government. They don't want a lot of government revenue. So they're not going to be fans of the Whiskey Rebellion. Not to mention, the Whiskey Rebellion is going to be caused because of farmers who are upset on the tax. It's another aspect of the Democratic Republican Party. So that's just an example. Now, today, the big examples that we learned was the Bank of America, the report on public credit, and the report on manufacturers, right? The Bill of Rights is instituted. Washington creates its cabinet, and here we are with our big conflict in the beginning of the chapter. And the big conflict is, how do we deal with the debt? The debt is insurmountable. It's insane. And here comes Hamilton in with an idea. He wants to create a national bank, the Bank of America. And in order to do that, we need to establish lines of credit because he believes our future is in trade. This is a lot of things going on at the same time. At the end of the day, what I want you guys to remember is, how does he want to go about working his plan, assuming states' debts, that's the big one, and how it's causing others to react, which naturally is Jefferson, and how he sees it as a government overreach. So Hamilton has a problem. He's got two things he has to fight. How does he get his plan across? Because there's nothing in the Constitution that says that technically Congress can do what he wants to do. So he's going to manipulate the Constitution. And that's why we read the necessary and proper clause in class today. And then he's got to get the votes in Congress in order for it to work. Okay. Jefferson sees this as a negotiating tool, and we get that first big party split over our first big issue, which is, again, that's the theme of the whole chapter. We have our first big conflict, our first big resolution. And the resolution is found in this idea that Madison and Jefferson are going to want the capital to be in the South, and Hamilton will get the support in Congress that he needs and get his bank passed. But what we're going to see is an even more divide in the country. Jefferson's going to resign as a cabinet member, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. But I want this video to serve as like a theme to what's really going on, the nuance of the chapter. So again, every time we get into an issue, you're going to be tested on the specifics. You're going to be tested on how Democrat Republicans feel about things and how Federalists feel about things. And if you can find a way to think through the political parties, it'll make everything a lot easier. So big takeaways, make sure you know that the Bank of America and the report on report on public credit will be with assuming states' debts. And Hamilton's financial plan, y'all, it's going to cause political parties to emerge. Just this one thing. It's the first conflict. And where are we at? We're at factions. We're at our first two-party system because of his financial plan. Another part of his financial plan is the report on manufacturers. We're going to increase tariffs to make money. When we do that, it makes foreign goods more expensive. So what's a country to do? Start making them ourselves. And all of a sudden, we're going to start exporting and making money, and we're going to import, and the government's going to make money. And this is Hamilton's vision. And he is really a genius in the fact that he was so young when this happened. And unfortunately, him and Aaron Burr don't really see eye to eye to think that he's murdered. But big ideas from today. Please watch this video. It isn't going to take a lot of your time, and it's a good way to kind of reiterate where we're going with a lot of things.